say a few things? Okay. People would like to hear from you. Do we have a microphone for her? Michael, is that mic working over there? Yes, it's working.
It's working?
It's working, yes.
Well, I know everybody's
I
here
can't
to
hear.
see the town board candidates and the supervisor candidates, so I just want to say hello, and I'm really happy that everybody's here and interested in this
Right, okay.
really important democratic process, and I'd like to say thank you again to our town for doing this, because I think this is so important for people to know what the issues are and make informed decisions when they vote.
Bryceland?
The thing about the county, I'm running for
Thank you.
county legislator again. I am the county legislator now for District 17. And the thing about the legislature, as you may know, is it's very confusing because there's 17 districts in Rockland County, 17 different legislators. And some of you may not even know if you're in my district or not, because it's a district made up of some entire villages like South Nyack, Grandview, Piermont, but then pieces and chunks of Blauvelt, Orangeburg, I think all, if not all of Spark Hill, and about 5 streets into Pan. And so it's sort of difficult. What I encourage you to do is, go on the Board of Elections website. If you're not really sure what legislative district you're in, you could be in 16, could be in 15, you could be in 17, and become informed. And don't forget to vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. We have another legislative candidate, Michael Bryceland. Michael, are you here? Good. If you'd like to take the microphone and introduce yourself, tell us what district you're running in.
Thank you. My name is Michael Bryceland. I am running for District 17, same one as Mrs. LaHogan. I grew up in Spark Hill, and after a brief education break in Scranton, I've lived in the district all my life. I've lived in Orangeburg. One of the reasons I ran was 2 years ago, last year, the legislature overrode the 2% cap, and I think we need to be financially responsible. We need to keep. If not, we're going to run out of money. We're not going to be able to afford to live here. I propose any further increases in the sales tax, and I would support the idea of started procurement issues. I also intend to create a monthly or weekly newsletter, electronic newsletter. And I will pledge right now that, as I did when I was district governor in the Lions, any phone calls or emails will be returned within 24 hours. I'll make it a point to do it. I did it when I was district governor in the Lions, and they kind of drilled it into our heads. You got to keep in touch with people. So, with that in mind, thank you for your time. Thank you to the Orangetown.
Okay, amongst the candidates for county office, we have Richard Vasquez running for Rockland County Sheriff.
Thank you very much for hosting this event. Good evening, everyone. I just want to introduce myself. For those who don't know me, I'm Rich Vasquez. I am retired from the New York City Police Department, where I've held various positions, including commanding officer of a detective squad, undercover narcotics, and commanding officer of the crime prevention section, which, if you don't know, is a citywide unit which is responsible for the safety and security of critical infrastructure in New York City. And I was tasked with those responsibilities. I retired after 20 years with the New York City Police Department. While I was with the New York City Police Department, I was awarded the Combat Cross, which is the second highest medal bestowed upon a police officer. The only award higher is given posthumously most of the time, or your partner unfortunately dies. So in addition to that, I'm currently working as the Chief of Police for the town of Woodbury, where I have been doing so since July of 2012. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Police Science with a concentration in police science and community and human services. I also have a Master of Arts in Criminal Justice. I'm currently working on a second master's degree in public administration. I'm also a professor at Rockland Community College, and I have taught at other colleges like Westchester Community College and John Jay College. I'm running for sheriff. It's very simple. The sheriff's division, the sheriff's office has to be brought to the 21st century. I know I'm the individual that can bring the sheriff's office to the 21st century. We need fiscal responsibility in department heads. You see in the news that discussing the sheriff's mounted patrol, and I do think it's nice to have a mounted patrol, but I think it should be run a little bit wiser. The sheriff's budget currently went up by $1 million, and he goes on television and says that he gives back $10 million. If you're giving back $10 million, why do you increase your budget by $1 million? It's a little disturbing to me. In addition to that, we have an epidemic with drugs in the county and actually throughout the entire country. As a former undercover narcotics officer, I am the individual that can help keep us safe. So I ask for you want me to cut it?
Your time is up.
Okay, my time is up. So what I will do at this point is say, thank you very much for listening to me. Look at both candidates, and I'm sure that you will agree with me that I'm the person to keep Rockland County safe. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, for the benefit of our speakers, Kate Rafa has the cue cards that will warn you when your time is up. Right, right. And I have a vaudeville-style hook. I have a vaudeville-style hook, and when you go too long over, I will simply pull you away from the pulpit. The pulpit, yes, the podium. Okay, I'm in the wrong church today. Okay. Now, for Superintendent of Highway, running unopposed, we have James Dean.
Thank you, Arthur. Actually, tonight's for me is all going to be about thank you. I want to thank all the voters in Orangetown and people here that have voted for me. I am your elected highway superintendent now. I've been a member of the department since 1957, and I've had this job for 18 years. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to continue in a job that I love. I want to thank our town, Arthur and Kate and Michael, for putting this together and giving us a chance to speak to everybody. I especially want to thank the men and women of the Orangetown Highway Department, because I know without their hard work and dedication, I wouldn't be seeking my 10th term here. You would have thrown me out, or I would have left. So it's very important to have that kind of support, and we've got a great workforce here in Orangetown. Definitely my family, because when you work in a highway department, as all the employees do, there's lots of times from the beginning of December until the beginning of April that you don't have any control over your life, because if it snows, it's bad weather, you're gone. And everybody in the department's in the same thing. So I have to thank my wife Dottie and my daughters and my grandchildren and now my great-grandchildren, all of which live right here in Orangetown. So I have a very much vested interest in what goes on here. I want to thank the town board too, because if they're really good and they give us the money, we can get the job done. I want to tell you how much, I think I've told you, how much I enjoy the job, but I will pledge to you, as I have in the past, that with the support of the members, the men and women of the Orangetown Highway Department and my family, a little bit of help from the town board, we're going to continue to do what I think is a great job. We're going to continue to pursue our mission to provide safe, dependable, courteous, and cost-effective service to everybody in Orangetown. Thank you.
There's one advantage to having kinfolk living all over Orangetown. The roads to their houses will be cleared. You can count on that. Okay, we also have with us tonight, we have Patrick Loftus, who is a town justice, who is seeking re-election.
Thank you, Mr. Aldrich, and also want to echo the other candidates in thanking the Artown for providing this forum this evening. My name is Patrick Loftus. I am the Republican nominee for re-election this year. It'll be my second term. I am unopposed. some of the things happening here in Orangetown. Besides the regular duties of town justice, about a year ago, the countywide misdemeanor drug court program was relocated to Orangetown. So I currently am presiding over that program. One of the things that I did find when I took over as town judge 4 years ago was, and you certainly hear about this in the newspaper, but the scourge of drug abuse has invaded the suburbs. So this countywide drug court program is an important way to deal with that problem. What it does specifically is through a screening process, certain cases in which defendants have been led to criminal acts in some way relating to a drug abuse problem get diverted to this court. The idea being that in addition to imposing criminal penalties, there will be some sort of attempt at rehabilitation for the people. And I can tell you just in the short year that I've been involved, and I was a skeptic when it started, but I will say that it really has some immensely positive benefits for the town, not just in terms of saving lives, but in terms of saving money for the town and getting people out of this path to their lives. So with that, I, like Jimmy, certainly thank all the voters for your continued support, and echoing one of the other candidates, please, I remind you, it is an important civic duty. Everybody should be out voting. Tell family, tell friends. It's important that we hear your voice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have we any candidates, excuse me, running either opposed or unopposed for any other office that we have not called upon? I want to give everyone an opportunity to speak. Okay, we're now preparing for the Orangetown Council debate. I'd like to remind you that we are broadcasting live on Channel 78 Cable and Channel 30 Verizon. That doesn't impress you too much because you're here and you're not watching it at home, but a version of tonight's proceedings will be aired at various times on each of these channels. So if you feel you've missed anything, you might want to tune at it again. And the times will be posted on the Orangetown town website, so you can tell when that's going to be. Yes, thank you. Okay, we're going to take a 5 or 10 minute break. We're going to give the Orangetown Town Council candidates a chance to come up and take their seats, and if any other candidate comes who needs to be introduced, we will take care of that at that time. So we are going to break until about 7:25, and then we're going to resume. The bathrooms, by the way, which on some of these candidates' nights has become an issue, people trying to find them or needing to find them. There are 2 bathrooms directly to the rear of the auditorium on your right by the Receiver of Taxes office, and there are additional restrooms by the police station. So if you need to use them, that's where they are. Okay, we'll be back at 7:25. Three-minute opening statement from each candidate in the following order: Mr. Batari, Mr. Moore, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Valentine. The order was determined by drawing, literally pieces of paper out of a hat with numbers on them. The questions will be asked in a rotating order directly to one candidate. He will have 2 minutes to respond. Beginning with 2 members of the opposing party, All three remaining candidates will have 1 minute to rebut or respond to the same questions. As we get toward the end of our time period, I will invite the candidates to close with a 2-minute statement in the following order, which, if you are observant, you will note is just the opposite of the starting order. Mr. Valentine, Mr. Smith, Mr. Moore, and Mr. Batari. And with that, it is 7:30, and we're going to begin the Our Town Candidate Night. I'm Art Aldrich. I'm the editor, founder, editor, and publisher of Our Town, and have been so since 1973, when the paper started. We began the Candidates Night. It became a tradition in 1975, and have done it every 2 years ever since. So, let's begin with the opening statement from Mr. Batari.
Right here. Thank you, Art, and thank you to the Our Town for putting this on. I'd like to thank all of you in the audience for being here tonight, and those who are watching at your TVs at home. It's important for people to take active roles in selecting their elected officials, and I'm here to humbly ask you for your vote tonight. Before we start, I'd like to just give you a little bit of my professional background. I started off as a teacher in the New York City Board of Education, coming up to Orangetown here in September 22nd of '79, and becoming a patrolman, joining the Orangetown Police Department. I served on the Orangetown Police Department as a patrolman, then starting the DARE program, and the first DARE officer. For those of you not familiar with DARE, it's Drug Abuse Resistance Education. I then was assigned to the Juvenile Aid Bureau, and I was the first SRO, which is School Resource Officer. Soon after that, I was promoted to sergeant, and myself with 2 other police officers that were wonderful, worked nights in Nyack. We worked every weekend from 8 at night to 4 in the morning. Did not make my wife happy, but it was a wonderful experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I retired February of this year, and it just seemed like a natural progression. I served for 35 and a half years, the town of Orangetown, and I am looking to give back to the community. It gave me and my wife, my family, a wonderful life. Going back to my family. I'm married, 3 children. My wife, Teresa. 2 children still live at home, Christopher and Caitlin. Jerry is married and bought a house in Blauvelt, and his wife, Kate, and daughter, Adeline, which is a wonderful addition to our family. I'd like to address the taxes, to keep taxes and to keep things affordable for our children and our streets safe. Okay, also to ensure the health of our citizens, okay, by stopping development such as an Elitech. Okay, we need to look at our zoning laws, and we need to change and make sure that something does not happen again. This is something that is dear to me because my son Christopher, at the age of 5 years old, was diagnosed with ALL, childhood leukemia. Okay, it's probably the worst thing that can happen to a parent, and it was the worst 39 months of my life. So with that, I will close. I saw my red sign. And again, thank you all for coming, and I look forward to serving you.
Okay, next up, we have incumbent council member Tom Moore.
Good evening. I also like to thank the Our Town, Art Aldrich, who always does a professional job at these candidates' nights debates. I've been through a couple. And thank you for all the people that are here, quite a bit. And over the last 4 years, I've also noticed from talking with people how many watch our town board meetings on TV. It's really good because I get some good questions, which brings me to why I'm doing this again. I look around, I see family and friends and neighbors. I see people that come to our meetings and ask good questions. And it's a difficult job, town council, but it's also very rewarding. Last 4 years has been several difficult decisions to make, and we, as a town board, go through those decisions very closely. I have to say that my background, I think, suits me well for being up here. I'm a lifetime accounting and budgeting professional, a CPA, Masters in Finance, and these tools and education and just on-the-job training, as well as interfacing with the community in all aspects that I have, helps me deal with the new things that come up. We tend to look at what we have in front of us, which is what we have to deal with now. But in this evolving world, there's always new things coming up, and we have to look at what experience, what training, what education the town board members have to deal with things we haven't seen yet. Along that way, I've also been a member of a school board for 6 years. I've coached youth recreation. I've helped run programs. I've taught religious education. I lecture at my church. I'm well-rounded, very involved in the community. And it's why I want to continue this, just looking at all the faces here. There's still more to be done, as we all know. Talking about community involvement, my daughter actually coached Jerry's daughter in the basketball program. So it's a very close-knit town we have. We're always running into each other. Jerry brought up town code. I was going to speak about this later, and we'll probably get into it in more detail. But we do have to work on the town code, and the town board is very close. By the end of the year, we'll be adjusting the town code for biohazards, as well as other things. It is an important thing. For the site he mentioned, I live about 2 miles from, and as he does, I have a wife, I have 2 daughters who I'm concerned with. So I'll be asking tonight, and hopefully I'll make the case to keep me here for 1 more term and work for you as I've always tried to do. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Mr. Smith.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I want to thank our town. I want to thank
Yeah, much better.
I want to thank everyone for coming and everyone watching on TV. My name is Chris Smith. I live in Pearl River. For the last few years, I've lived in Rockland County for over 10 years now. I recently got married, and I'm about to purchase a home in Spark Hill. And I want to raise my family here, and that's why I sit up here today. I look and see out to the crowd with all these people, and I'm glad that everyone's come out and is participating in government, because that's what it's all about. We have a proud history here in Orangetown, and I want to continue that history by sitting on this board. I work for Verizon currently. I also have an advertising, marketing, and PR firm, which I've had since 2006. I've also worked in government on different levels. I worked for Rockland County for 3 years, and I worked for the State Assembly for about 4 years. So I have governmental experience, I have business experience, and I have experience in corporate America. So I think my background fits well sitting up here. There are many issues that we're all going to discuss tonight. Obviously, we're not going to agree on everything, although many of us up here do agree that we're Mets fans, and we're glad to see that they're actually winning nowadays. So, you know, over the last few years, I've been watching the town board, and I equate it to what's going on down in D.C., right? So we have a Democratic town supervisor and 4 Republican members, but they don't work with him. They've worked with him on 1 issue or 2 issues, but that's it. We see the same thing in D.C. You know, we have a Democratic president, we've got a Republican Congress. It's about people, not politics. It should not be Republican, Democrat, Independents, whatever you registered as. We should all work together, because this is a community, and we need people who are going to work hard and be leaders and not be followers. So I humbly ask for your support, and thank you very much.
Maybe we can have someone turn that PA system down. We're getting terrible reverberation and booming. Next, we'll be getting feedback. Okay, it'll be very distracting. Okay, next we're going to hear from Paul Valentine.
Good evening. I'm sorry. First of all, thank you to the Arrowtown and for all the people who came out. I think this is such an important night because you actually get to hear from the candidates and see them physically and what their point of views are. Why am I running for office and who is Paul Valentine? I'm running for office because I feel like I'm part of the history of this town. I moved up here 26 years ago to raise my family with my wife. 23 years ago, I started my own small business in the basement of my house, Valentine Electric. Due to the grace of this community, my business has flourished. I now have 18 full-time employees. My business expertise is something that I bring to the forefront of being on this town council. When I was a young boy, I was taught by my family how to dedicate your life to the service of others. My father was a Marine Corps pilot in World War II. My mom was in the Waves. My grandfather was in Merchant Marines in World War I and II. My uncle did 5 major landings. My brother was in the Navy, and I was in the Marines. At that time, I dedicated my life to service of others. While running my business, I also dedicated my life to serving my community. I served as a coach for Orangetown Mighty Midgets, South Orangetown Little League, St. Catherine's CYO, Clarkstown Travel, to name a few. I was a past president of the Blauvelt Lions Club. While my tenure as president, we were able to build a park in the middle of Blauvelt at no cost to the taxpayers. My wife and I donated the Lion, and we donated all of the electrical work. My business donates to the community also, due to the fact that the community has supported us. We've donated scoreboards to Tappan Zee High School football, to Tappan Zee High School softball, to Veterans Park, to name a few. We donate scholarships every year. I've been living the American dream, and I want to give back to my community, and I do so. My small business expertise brings a different perspective to the town, and I've been working diligently to keep the taxes lowered. Part of the reason the last 4 years your taxes have been under the 2% cap is because I've been on the board. I stand up and I fight for the people of this town. My children and myself, my son lives a block from the Rockland Psychiatric Center. I live a block from there. My daughter lives 2 blocks with my new grandson. My son lives a block from the Pfizer campus. I care about the development. I'm here to make sure that the development is done properly and that we remain safe. Thank you, and please support me on November 3rd.
Okay, it is now time to ask questions directly to the candidates, and again, this is the protocol. We will ask in rotating order directly to one candidate who will have 2 minutes to respond. Then we're going to go to the members of the opposite party who will have 1 minute to respond to the same question, and then the fourth person will be the member of the same party. And if I can keep that straight, well, we're doing great. Okay. Okay, so we started with Jerry Batari, so now we're going to start with Paul Valentine, and here is the question. What do you see as the most important challenge facing Orangetown today?
Well, that's a tough question because there are a lot of important challenges facing Orangetown. One is the development of the 2 large pieces of property that we have that are left undeveloped. Because if high-density housing gets in there, it will change the face of Orangetown. If the wrong type of commercial development get in there, it'll jeopardize the safety of our residents. Being conservative on the development, I think it's very important that we take a slow approach and we make sure that these are developed properly. Well, we've been working diligently at the RPC site. It feels like in the last 4 years, nothing has happened, but government moves slow. And as soon as you involve the state, it moves even slower. But a lot has happened. And more importantly than that, the wrong type of development was not allowed to happen. So I think that's very, very important. The next thing is we have a couple of large contracts coming up, the PBA contract, the CSEA contract.
I was able to work with both of those on the last contract, and we were able to settle them in the best interest of the town and the workers of the town, who are great workers. And even doing that, I got the endorsement of the Orangetown PBA, the Rockland PBA, the New York City PBA, the Central Labor Council. I'm a non-union contractor, and I got the endorsement of the Hudson Valley Central Labor Council and the Rockland County Labor Council because of my efforts on part of the town and the development of the town.
Okay, Chris Smith, you have 1 minute to respond to the same question.
Yeah, so I agree with Paul that RPC is definitely one of the bigger issues in the development. Obviously, I believe we all agree that high-density housing would be the worst thing to ever happen to Orangetown. We see what's going on in Ramapo. We see what's going on in parts of Haverstraw. Obviously, we don't want that to happen here. I think the budget is one of the biggest issues and challenges. We have a ton of unfunded mandates that are brought down to us from the state and the county, pension costs, insurance costs, health care, things of that nature. I think we've had over the last few years close to almost a 10% spike in these unfunded mandates. The county turned around and took away the chargebacks for Rockland Community College, which was a hit to our budget. So I think we need to look closely. As Paul said, we have these contracts coming up. I've been endorsed by the CSEA. I've been endorsed by the Hudson Valley Labor Council and IBEW and the Rockland County Labor Council. So I've worked together with these groups in the past, and I will look forward to working together with them in the future.
Okay, following our established protocol, we are now going to ask the same question of Jerry Batari. The most important challenges facing Orangetown today.
I would have to agree. I think that Rockland State is certainly one of the challenges that face the board, and I also agree that we move slowly on it. But 15 years ago, we purchased this property. You know, it just slowly is one thing, cautiously is one thing. 15 years is a long time, right? This has to be moved. It has to move a little bit quicker than it's moving. There's a lot of ratables that can go in there, clean ratables, and this would bring our taxes up, our income up, income tax, whatever it is. Again, I just think it's there. I, too, have support of all the police agencies, which I'm pretty sure you would expect, but the CSEA as well. So thank you very much.
Okay, and the last word on this question goes to Tom Moore.
Yes, on the RPC, it's really a three-part development issue. RPC is key, and that's all been spoken about. There's not too much more to add, but I also agree that we're not going to do any high-density housing in there at all. The other piece of property that we don't own that we have to negotiate properly in terms of allowable zoning is what Pfizer plans on doing with their property. It's key that we allow them to put only the right thing in there, but at the same time allow the Nanuet School District to raise the taxes they need. Their taxes have gone up, their property taxes have gone up $1,000 a year for the last 2 years, and they need to educate their children. So it's a serious balancing act, and I'm looking forward to doing it. The other thing, I'll make a pledge, I've done this before. The other part of development, I will never vote for downzoning a property. Never, and that's key to the quality of life in this town.
Okay. Our next question, and this is going to be, we're going to start with Chris Smith on this question. What is your position on outsourcing Blue Hill Golf Course maintenance?
Well, what an interesting topic, which is, it's important. It really is, because it's an important piece of our budget. Let me start with saying we haven't seen the numbers, right? So RFPs have come in, people have made presentations, but what is the actual cost savings? Look, I don't want to see anybody laid off, Some of these people have worked for the town for over 25 years. They're going to turn around and get pushed to the sewer department or to a new job. I just don't, in my opinion, I don't want to see that happen to anybody. But I want to see the numbers, right? Obviously, there are losses there. You know, the bonding's coming due soon. There are interest payments. There's a bunch of different things going on over there. But I need to see the numbers, which we haven't seen as of yet. I wish we would see them before Election Day. That would be great, so that I can take an honest look at these numbers and see what's going on. What are the bids? You know, is it, you know, we have Applied Golf. We've got AJ and Brett. So these numbers haven't come out. So I can't give you an honest opinion without knowing all the information. But I will tell you that if I get elected and I'm allowed to vote for it, there will not be one layoff of one town employee. Thank you.
Okay, Tom Moore, you have 1 minute to respond to this same question on outsourcing of Blue Hill.
Admittedly, Chris is at a disadvantage. He hasn't seen the numbers. As a matter of fact, we're going through the numbers now. We met with the potential developers just last week. And here's my approach in 1 minute or less. If there's a tremendous amount of savings, this much, because there's always risk in the financial savings. If there's a tremendous amount of savings, it kind of coerces us to outsource. If it's a smaller amount of savings, and now we're talking about losing our employees who have done such a great job there, and we take a risk of what the developer may do with the property over 3 or 5 years, then you start taking a second look. And I know the golf course people themselves have come in with proposals that dramatically reduce the losses for the next year or two. So that's another key part of the analysis. We can't compare it just to the huge number that you had lost in previous years. They have a proposal for next year to bring that loss down quite a bit.
Paul Valentine, same question, outsourcing Blue Hill.
I have seen the numbers. It appears that we could save upwards of $2 million. Right now, currently, the pro shop and the restaurant are already outsourced. So there is a practice in the town of that. Nobody wants to see anybody lose their job. And through attrition and jobs that haven't been filled over this year, it looks like all of the workers will find a place to land, and nobody will lose their job. They may be working in a different position, but due to the bumping rights of the CSEA, it seems like the majority, if not all of the existing members will find a new place to work within the town, so nobody will be losing their job. And we do keep local control. The town board would still be in charge of the golf course, and all of the residents would still have their rights that they currently have to their tee times and everything else. So it's a financial matter. $2 million is a lot of money.
And Jerry Batari, you get the last word on outsourcing.
Thank you. Again, unfortunately, I'm going to sit with Chris on this because we have not seen the numbers. We've talked about it. We have not seen the numbers. My only concern, again, is that the people of the town, the wonderful workers that we've had that have worked for many years, and the course has always been a beautiful course. These are our parks. Our parks are not supposed to make money for us. We're not supposed to be losing a lot of money, but we're not supposed to make money for us. Veterans Park, our parks, other places, they're not. This is a service that the town gives to the people of the town. This is one of the reasons that we live here and want to live here, our town parks. This is one of them. So again, depending on the numbers, when they come in, we'll have to look at it, but I am in favor of keeping things where they are.
Okay, and on this question, next question, we're going to start with Tom Moore. Okay, and you'll have the 2 minutes to respond, and then we'll follow the rotation. One of the ongoing conflicts that we have noticed a lot in the paper is the soccer war, which are not being fought on the field, but fought over the fields. So the question is, how do you propose to attain or maintain resident kids' use of the town fields? And what is the, quote, proper, close quote, ratio of in-town to non-resident players?
Okay. Well, first of all, one statement I've made in town board meetings several times is the angst that's been going on at the meetings quite often is not about the kids. And I keep trying to bring the conversation back to the kids. Now, in terms of the details, what we're looking to do as a town board, and this goes across all youth recreation sports, not just soccer, because we're going to be fair. It's going to go across all youth sports in the town. What we're looking to do is charge surcharges to out-of-town children that participate and use our fields. That money coming to the town. And the sound theory is, right now, the out-of-towners don't pay property taxes to Orangetown. By paying additional registration fees, they will now be contributing to the town's infrastructure, number one. Number two, specifically with OMM, they're looking at taking on additional expenses from the town. They pay a large share of the maintenance cost at the soccer fields. They're looking at potentially taking over all the cost. Now, in terms of the conflict there as well, I've said at meetings, every time we have a sport, it's only broken up geographically. All sports, there's only one sport all the time. Little League by town maybe. Lacrosse, soccer, we don't need two different leagues because they're not split geographically. And OMM is trying to get the other program melded into theirs and add extra levels, which is of the elite programs. So the town players that weren't top elite can now play at a lower travel league. And I'm running out of time, but and to answer your question directly, because I always do, we're looking at going to the percentage of town residents equal to our neighboring towns, which is 65% that Clarkstown and Ramapo does, with the caveat that not out-of-towners will be paying additional fees.
All right, Jerry Batari, I'm going to kick the soccer ball to you.
I think OMM is a wonderful asset to the town. 30 years, 25 years ago, I coached with Amy. Neither one of us knew anything about soccer. Our children played. It's a great way to get children on the field. Participation is amazing. I have to agree with Tom. I think that this is the important thing is getting the children on the fields. Sometimes we just have to take the parents out of it. Okay, the children are the ones that are important, and they have to play. So as of now, and what I've heard here, I would have to agree with him, and I think that that would be a nice mix if it worked out and the parents can agree. Thank you.
Chris Smith.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree as well. Look, this is about the kids. People shouldn't be, parents, coaches shouldn't be fighting over who gets to use what fields. This is about the kids. That's why we have a recreation program. That's why people live here, is because of these recreation programs. And we shouldn't have people fighting over this. I would agree with the 65% with the caveat that out-of-town residents would have to pay a special registration fee because obviously they're using our infrastructure. We don't get any money for it currently, and you know, we could use it to hopefully increase the infrastructure, make more fields, and have them look great. So,
All right, Paul Valentine, last word on this question.
Okay, OMM is a huge asset to the town. I started with OMM when they were working out of the back of a store in people's cars. They made a big investment in that field, and they continue to. They put in the turf fields, and they, part of the agreement, which Tom talked about, which I was one of the leaders in negotiating, was that they would pick up the rest of the maintenance, so it won't cost the town any more maintenance fees for that complex. If we agree to lower the residency requirement, that all out-of-town residents would pay a fee, which would then go back into the general fund to be used for capital improvements at the field. It's not finished yet. We have got some word from ORAC, which is a committee that was formed, and we're working with ORAC, and we didn't finalize the deal, but it seems like that's the direction we're heading in.
All right, this next question is specifically directed to Jerry Batari, but all of the candidates will get a chance to weigh in on this issue of police contracts. I know it came up during our endorsement interviews repeatedly, the issue of police contracts in Orangetown. But to Jerry Batari, as a retired member of the OPD, who may be affected by the negotiations, what is going to be your level of participation when it comes to negotiating the police contracts?
I've been asked this a number of times. I've served the Orangetown Police for 35 years. I've served on their bargaining and grievance, can you hear? On their bargaining and grievance committees. I've gone into bargaining, and my answer is that as long as it's done professionally, okay? It has to be done professionally with a mutual respect. It says, I am no longer a member of the Orangetown Police Department. I now wear a different hat. I'm representing different people in the community, and I have a responsibility to those people in the community. So I see no reason why I could not sit down and negotiate a contract that was fair to the PBA and to the residents of Orangetown. And that's where I'll leave it. And
All right, let me bounce this, let me open up the police contract question because none of the rest of the candidates are personally affected by it. But let me bounce this to Paul Valentine. Your thoughts on the police contract negotiation?
First, I know Jerry for a very long time. Our kids grew up together. He grew up down the street from me. And this isn't a shot at Jerry, or is it a partisan attack in any way, because there's two candidates who are police officers, one in each party. The biggest part of our tax bill is the police. So, to me, it would be a little scary to have two police officers negotiating the biggest part of the contract. It could, in a way, from what I understand, affect their own retirement, which could be part of it. So what happens? Do they have to recuse themselves? If they recuse themselves, then you're leaving the biggest part of the negotiations to three people. I was able to work with the PBA. I was able to negotiate a good contract. I negotiate contracts every day of my life, big contracts. And in negotiating with the PBA, I gained respect enough to get their endorsement. So they respected me as a businessman and a negotiator to make sure that they got a good deal, as well as the residents of the town. So the PBA contract's up. To me, that's an issue of concern, and it may not be. Jerry may be right. It may be something that they can overcome in a professional manner. But again, you're negotiating a contract with guys you worked with for 35 years. So it's an area of concern. It may not need to be, but to me, it's an area of concern.
Okay, Tom Moore, your take on police contract negotiations.
1 minute or two? Whatever, that's okay. Just as a point of education, one thing a lot of people may not realize in the town is that the town board is also the police commission, which means, in addition, we do the contract settlements, of course, and we're also the final say on all police matters, promotions, disciplines, reorganizations. The chief of police comes to us with his proposals, but we're the ultimate decision maker. In terms of the original question, I can't read Jerry's heart and soul and mind. I've got to take him for his word, that he would do the right thing. But understand the difficulty of the question, being he was part of a colleague, a friend, which is a difficult position to be put in. Thanks.
Okay, Chris Smith.
So I've gotten to know Jerry Batari over the past few months. I didn't know Jerry before this. Listen to Jerry. His heart, his mind, his soul is in this community. And if he says he's going to do the right thing when it comes to the PBA contract, I truly believe that Jerry will do the right thing.
All right, now, my next question has to do with Anelitech, another item of great controversy in the town. And by way of background, Anelitech is proposing to build a 2,500 square foot facility at the Pfizer plant with a 3-inch vent pipe. This has been seen in many quarters as a pretext for manufacturing or some type of a grave environmental hazard. So I'm going to ask each of the council members to state, and the candidates, to state his position, and the question has two parts. One, what is your position currently on Anelitech? And two, what is your position on similar research and development facilities that might want to move to Orangetown? And I'm going to start with Chris Smith.
Well, another interesting topic that has caused a lot of back and forth amongst the community. Since the get-go of my campaign, I have been 100% against Anelitech moving in. I'm all for jobs. We need the ratables. I understand that. I get it. But this, they call it research and development. We can have an argument over whether it is manufacturing or whatever it may be. We cannot allow us to be guinea pigs. We cannot allow us to be guinea pigs for something that's never been put in a process physically. There's all this research and studies and everything like that. That's great, that's all fine and well, but we've got people on both sides. You know, it's good, you know, for the community, it's not gonna hurt us, but then you got people saying that it is bad for us. Look, I'd rather not find out. I wanna grow, you know, I'm about to put a family together here. I'd rather not find out whether it's bad for us or not. What was the second part? I got all wound up.
How do you feel about research and development?
Look, if it's real research and development, I'm all for it. We need, like, again, we need the ratables. We need the tax revenue. But at the same time, it's got to be clean, smart research and development.
Okay, let me bounce this now to Paul Valentine.
Okay, just to clear up a few things. Chris is 100% against Anelitech. My question is, what would you have done? See, as a town board member, we never voted on Anelitech. In fact, the planning board voted on it, and it would be against the law for us to impose our will on the planning board. So I am the first one for public safety. And as the town board, we pushed in requirements that before they could ever start this little research and development facility, that there were safeguards in. There's 24-hour monitoring, there's an automatic shutdown. So we are absolutely, this will not start until those safeguards are in place, tested and true. And I want to make something else clear. I am 100% opposed to the manufacturing of BTX in the town of Orangetown. Currently, there is no place that manufactures it in New York, and I don't want Orangetown to be the first one. I don't think it's possible, but I just want everybody to be clear. I'm 100% opposed to the manufacturing of BTX.
Okay, Tom.
So, I mean, I can almost repeat what Paul said. He gave a good explanation of what the town board's position has been. Now, I too have a wife and 2 daughters nearby. I'm concerned with the environment. And I'm going to say so, I'm not trying to be smirk about it. I wish I lived in Yellowstone Park. I love the outdoors, I love the environment. We live in a suburb, and the effluent that some people have accused coming out of this research and development facility has been overblown, several times proven otherwise, including the size of the pipe, the vent pipe.
Okay.
No.
Oh, sorry.
She interrupted me. Now I lost my train of thought. We actually, when we spoke about this at one meeting, we had a researcher at Lamont Doherty, a well-renowned organization down in Palisades, come out to make sure we didn't pass a law that was going to preempt them from doing the fine research and development they're doing. And I thought that was very telling, when that gentleman came out to see where this is and is research and development. Thanks.
Okay. Jerry Batari.
Okay.
Yes.
Anelitech. Town board says that they can't do anything about it. But the town board did appoint those on the planning board. Okay? So to hide behind something that couldn't be done is that, it's just, in my opinion, is not the way it should be done. I will tell you that if a mistake was made, and everybody makes mistakes, okay? And I'll stand in front of you and tell you that I come from a profession, when you make a mistake, you admit to that mistake and you learn from it. Okay, I think we need to admit our mistakes and learn from it and move on. Thank you.
Which leads me to the next question, which is a policy issue that would have to be addressed by the town board. And I'm going to start with Jerry Batari on this. How would you work to ensure that decisions from land use boards here in Orangetown follow correct guidelines? That is, how would you reverse erroneous negative declarations? Want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
I'll be glad to. Okay. How would you work to ensure that decisions from land use boards here in Orangetown follow correct guidelines? That is, how would you reverse erroneous negative declarations? Well, let's take negative. How would you reverse declarations that would appear to be erroneous or have adverse consequences?
Arthur, that's a very in the weed, it's a
Then
difficult
let's-
question. I would suggest a substitute, and
Let's
that
scrub.
is, what are the criteria for land
Use
use board
appointments, of appointments. Very good. Much better question. Okay. Go ahead. Talk about land use board appointments.
Criteria for land
Right,
use
criteria.
board appointments.
Okay. I'm afraid I'm at a loss here.
Okay, I think,
I'm afraid I'm at a loss. I don't understand the question. I don't know what the criteria is for the appointment of land use boards.
What would your criteria, as a sitting council person, what would your criteria be for appointments to the land use board? Because as council people, you are part of that decision-making process.
Okay, all right. Start with the background, make sure that the people are there, find out the people. We have, most of the people that volunteer or go to our boards, all of our boards for that matter, are appointed and they come through people that are known. There'd be an interview process, and go from there. Again, this is something that I have never been involved with. I know that when we do interviews where I come from, there are interviews, there are resumes submitted, there are interviews, and there are background checks that go through. I would be looking in that area, but I am at a loss of this question. I apologize.
okay, so we're gonna now take that to Tom Moore.
Sure. What we do every year when we have openings on any boards, land use or other, we advertise and we interview everybody that's interested. It's not like it was maybe 20 years ago where everything was politically appointed. We interview everybody. I look for intelligence, love of community, common sense, big time. Those three main items, ability to learn, because they're handling different things all the time. Just a quick note on what was said before. We appoint the planning board members, correct. That vote was 5-2. It was split. We pick independent-minded members to these boards. Otherwise, we would have been 7-0 on the Anelitech, number one. And in terms of applying, the boards applying the code, they just have to follow the law. One thing that gets missed is the planning board does not make policy. All they could do is look at the town code and apply it. Thank you.
Okay. Following our rotational Protocol, Paul Valentine.
Okay. When we select members for the town board, as Tom said, which we do every year when they're up, I look for a conservative-minded person who's conservative on land use issues. I look for someone who has knowledge of the board. I look for someone who has the intelligence to carry through the law. And I look for someone who's part of this community, whose heart is in this community, whose family's in this community, who is like-minded to me to make sure that things are done properly. And just to get back to what Tom was saying, it sort of sounded like you should go after the land use boards if you don't agree with what they said. That's against the law. So you can't go because you're not happy with the decision. When they're appointed, they're an independent board, similar to a judge. Even though they work for the town, we at the town board do their budgets. We couldn't go in and tell them, change your mind on that case. And we can't do the same thing for the land use boards. They made a decision following the law.
Okay. Okay, Chris Smith, you get the last word on this
Sure.
issue.
So, I mean, it's hard to turn around and go back and take away a decision a land use board has made, or downright illegal, probably. But if I was looking for somebody for a land use board, I'd be looking for experts, whether it's a plumber, an electrician, an architect, somebody who knows planning and zoning laws much better than I do. Obviously, an interview process and a background check. We need people. Again, like I said in my opening statement, my campaign's about people, not politics. What I've seen over and over again is on some of these boards, it's the same people who are registered to the same party being appointed. So,
Okay, everyone tonight, every incumbent, every council candidate has given RPC as a priority. So I'm going to get very specific here, and I'm going to start with Tom Moore. What plans do you have for RPC? Or conversely, what do you see as the highest and best use for that property?
There are currently a couple of things in the works being negotiated that I really can't talk too much about on certain parcels of land. Best use, well, let's put it this way. When we put together our plan, it was things that we don't want there. We don't want high-density housing. We don't want dirty factories. We don't want development that's going to overrun the school district, causing them to need to build another building. Short of that, I'll do step two. None of us on the town board are experts in marketing and what's sellable and what's sustainable in terms of real estate. My first time on the board, and I'm not going to say it because he's here, Tom Klein, who's assistant Suzanne Barkley, led a wonderful job bringing in 10 legitimate proposals to develop that property. And the way it was done, we gave an outline, and these proposals came back because they could make money. Nobody's going to go there because, well, we kind of want to put this there, will you build that? No, they're not going to do that. It's got to be something sustainable and profitable for who goes in there, with the caveats that the town board, and as Paul says, we're a very conservative land use board, that nothing goes in there that's detrimental, such as the items I mentioned. Paul may come up with some others. What that leaves is low-density housing, maybe some mixed-use commercial, maybe if there's some retail that's usable in the community. It's a good front on Orangeburg Road there to have it as a sustainable retail area. But we need to really get the word out and get more than spot selections from companies that want to go in there. Thanks.
Okay, Jerry Batari, your vision, your plan, your ideal for RPC.
I think our RPC needs to be developed in a responsible way. There's a beautiful piece of property that I speak with Andy about a lot, and that would be down by the reservoir. It would make a wonderful parkland, something that would give us a waterfront park. Other than that, I would not like to see any religious or educational development in that area. I think we need ratables, and we need clean ratables. So my vision would be to share that a lot of that property is very developable, very much to be developed. Other property is going to cost us money to develop. The homes, the houses that are there, a lot of asbestos and a lot of other, I think that we need to balance the good land with the challenging land. And again, with good rateable development, responsible. Thank you.
Okay, Chris Smith.
So, look, that property has been sitting there for a long time. Some of those buildings, as Jerry mentioned, the asbestos, it's going to cost millions to remediate all those buildings, knock them down, and haul out all that contamination. Look, I'm not privy to some of these plans that Tom mentioned. I would love to see them, when we get the chance. Look, I'm totally 100% against any high-density housing there. We need good, clean ratables, as Jerry said. We need to have a plan and a proposal, in my opinion, that should be sort of mixed use. Maybe some shopping, some apartments, things of that nature. I know there was a proposal at one point to do that. So not sure where that stands at this point. So that's what I think about RPC, and hopefully we can get this done in the next few years, because we definitely need those ratables.
Okay, Paul Valentine, wrap up this question, please.
Okay. I think this is a great question. I've been working with a group called Reason for a number of years. I was a member of them before I got on the town board, and I've been working with them. You asked for my vision. My vision would be to put a main street in there so that South Orangetown has a main street with some shops and mixed use. I'd like to move Town Hall from here and move the building department, incorporate them all in one space together with the police and the justice in a nice new building down over there. And I'd like to keep a waterfront park, which would stretch the entire length of the reservoir, a walking and jogging park where people can actually use the reservoir. When they sold us on the reservoir, United Water, before them, but when that was originally built, it was supposed to be for recreational purposes. I'd like to have a little fishing pier out there, maybe some paddle boats. So I have good visions. I don't know if they could all come, but you asked for my vision, and that's my vision for RPC. Thank you.
Okay, we are now at the point. We are nearing the end of the scheduled debate period, so now it is time for closing statements. And as I announced at the beginning, the order will be Paul Valentine, Chris Smith, Tom Moore, and Jerry Batari. So, Paul, you're up first.
Okay.
2 minutes, please.
2 minutes. Thank you very much for everybody for listening to me here and at home. I hope I made my case clear. I feel that I am the best person for this job. My job isn't done. I've been here 4 years. We were able to keep the taxes below 2%. That's only a start. There's a lot of challenges facing us. Like I said, the PBA contract, the CSEA contract, as Chris said, with the unfunded mandates, we're able to do it, and we're going to do it again this year, and we're going to do it again for the future. It's through incentives. It's through working hard. It's through cost-effective. It's through less government. I am a guy, the only small business owner who meets a payroll. I'm the only veteran on the town board. I think it's important that you keep me here to keep the job that I started going. There is some issues facing the town. I don't take them lightly. Every issue that faces the town, I really, really work hard and do my research on. So I stand up for you to the best of my ability, and I'm hoping come November 3rd, you'll stand up for me and vote for Paul Valentine. Give me the time to finish the job we started, and I promise you I'll finish it, and your health, safety, your tax dollars are my main concern as they are yours. Thank you.
Okay, Chris Smith.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out and everybody who's watching at home. want to thank our town for doing this. This is great. Obviously, you've seen there are some stark differences between myself and my opponents over the different issues in the town. We need a change on the town board. That's basically what this comes down to. Again, it's about people, not politics. I don't care what party you're registered in. If you got a good idea, my door will always be open. I'll give you my cell phone number, my email address. You know, we need to move this town forward, and there are a lot of pressing issues. You know, I've done small business. I've worked in government. I have many different innovative ways that we can reduce costs just from my work with the county and the state assembly. So I humbly ask for all of your support. I also want to thank my opponents and Jerry Bottari. This has been a very enlightening discussion, and we have 2 weeks to go, and so the real fun begins after our debate, because I know a lot of you are here for the next debate, so thank you.
Okay, Tom Moore.
Sure. As somebody who became a councilman on the road of volunteerism, as I said in my opening remarks, lastly being on the school board, which is also where I tried to control spending. It's more challenging there because it's more directly impacting the parents that come to the meetings. But it's a challenge, and we've continued on the town board to control those taxes. But quality of life is really important to me as well. It goes to the land use boards, as mentioned before. They aren't just from one party. We just appointed a member to the planning board who is not our party. As a matter of fact, he voted in the minority on the Inelitech issue, yet we still reappointed them. We're open-minded to people that are intelligent and independent. In a first term of mine, I had fought against a downzoning on the western side of Pearl River, which I got to stop because it would have overcrowded the school district. And thank God it didn't happen. I've lived in Orangetown 30 years, and I've chosen to stay here. I don't have a town job. I don't have a county job. Matter of fact, my professional career, which is, except for maybe 3 years, the other 35 have been in private industry, either commuted to New York City or northern or central Jersey. But I chose to stay here because I love Orangetown. My accounting skills and my talent, I could take anywhere in the country. I could move and get a job. I chose to stay here, and I want to stay here, and I'm going to dedicate myself to keeping the quality of life as it is with the smart development, keep it as affordable as possible. And you know, again, what I started to say, somebody that kind of came into this in a series of volunteerism, I'm just kind of, quite honestly, blown away that this many people came to hear us talk. But it's nice because I recognize a lot of faces, and you feel at home and with your neighbors, and call me anytime. I'll try to help you out, and good luck. Thank you all.
Okay. And the last word tonight, the last word goes to Jerry Bottari.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Thanks to our town for putting this on. Thanks for all of you for coming out, and thanks for those watching at home. My opponents have brought out their backgrounds. Okay, they have brought out what they do and how it benefits the town, and have chosen to question how mine benefits the town. They did say it was the largest budget in the town, possibly second, I'm not sure, with the sewer department, the highway department catching up, but it is the largest budget. And there are certain things that they do not understand about the police department, and they will never understand about the police department. And that is not criticism in any way. If you talk to police officers, you just have to be one to understand it, okay? And what I'm telling you is that I understand the police department. I do have another job to do, and I will do that other job. And I think you sell the police department short if you think that they will not understand that I have a separate job to do. Okay, so thank you. I look forward to working with the town board. I look forward to working to keep Orangetown a place that we can all live, our children can live, and our children's children can live. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the candidates for appearing tonight and sharing their views, and we've struck some sparks, certainly, but that's what the nature of an election is. And this free flow of ideas and interchange, I hope, has given you a better idea of these candidates as people. People who are seeking to do an important job or to continue to do an important job. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Next up, after a recess, we are going to hear from the supervisor candidates. Thank you.
Good job.
School of Business at NYU. I'm president and CEO of Connie Builders. I employ over 100 people at that company, so I know what budgets are about. I know what making payroll every week is about. My wife Jennifer and I live in Pearl River, 3 daughters in the Pearl River school system. And I've lived in Rockland County for the better part of 24 years. So as I campaigned around, the number one issue, and this came up a lot tonight, that I think people were concerned about or are concerned about is the future of the county and our community. And what it's going to look like 10 years from now if we can't get a handle on overdevelopment and people can't afford to live here because of taxes. So one of the things that I'll be focused on up at the legislature is the continuation of what we've been working on at the county for 2 years, or what they've been working at the county for 2 years, and that's restoring the fiscal health of the county. 2 years ago, there was a $138 million deficit and $40,000 in the bank account. And there was an election to preserve Rockland. Nobody thought could be won, and the one difference, or what made the difference, was a turnout bigger than this. People got out to vote because they knew it mattered. And I'll continue the fiscal health efforts at the county. The other one I wanted to mention is I'm very active with the youth in the community. I'm the chairman of the Gaelic Athletic Association here in town. And another area that I'll be focused on, and I've heard a lot of stuff about, that I'll work with the task force up at the county, is the heroin problem in Rockland County. And another recent tragedy we had in Rockland, here in Orangetown, was suicide. And we need to be protecting the kids in this county from drugs and harming themselves. So with that, I'll turn it back over. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Oh, yes. Okay, now I'm going to explain the cue cards that Kate Rapp is holding up. The red card, Kate, the red card. The red card is 10 seconds to stop. The yellow card is 30 seconds.
So we start here.
Start with the right. Obviously, we start with the 30 before we go to the 10. So that's how it works, okay? All right, so tonight, as candidates for town supervisor, we have the incumbent, Andy Stewart, and we have his challenger, Michael Maroney. Now, let me explain the protocol. The debate will begin with a 3-minute opening statement in this order. Mr. Maroney, followed by Mr. Stewart. The order was determined by a drawing of 2 pieces of paper, 1 and 2. So, actually, we could have gotten by with 1 because the default would have been 2, but we had 2 pieces of paper. So we're going to start. We're going to start with Michael Maroney, and we're going to go to Andy Stewart. The questions will be asked in rotating order directly to one candidate, who will have 2 minutes to respond. Excuse me. The remaining candidate will have 90 seconds to rebut or respond to the same question. As we near the end of our hour, which is the allotted time segment here, I will then allow each candidate a 2-minute closing statement in the reverse order of the opening statement. That is, starting with Andy Stewart, and finishing with Michael Maroney. So, excuse me, let us begin, and the first question goes to Michael Maroney. I'm so sorry. The opening statement. I've been shuffling these cards a little bit much. Okay, the opening statement, Michael Maroney.
Thank you. My name is Michael Maroney, and I am running for the position of town supervisor because I feel the current supervisor, excuse me, has failed to fulfill his promises to the people. As the only full-time position on the town board, the town is guided in its direction by the supervisor. The supervisor has to lead in areas of economic development, policy-making, fiscal responsibility, and long-range planning to ensure the future of the town. These are the areas where my opponent and I disagree. By way of background, I am 48 years old and have been a lifelong resident of Pearl River. I retired last year from the Orangetown Police Department at the rank of lieutenant. I'm married to a wonderful woman who's here tonight, Sharon, and live with my 3 sons, Joseph, Stephen, and John. I graduated from Iona College with a bachelor's degree in business administration and a major in finance. After college, I worked for Smith Barney and Prudential prior to joining the Orangetown Police Department in 1994. As your supervisor, I will work to revamp the zoning laws along 303 corridor, work with county and state officials to create an economic development zone, and bring new business into Orangetown. When you drive along 303 from the New Jersey border up to the Clarkstown border, what you see in Orangetown is a disgrace. When you compare that to what you see south of the border in New Jersey and up in Clarkstown, you have to ask yourself why. I think that's because of the archaic zoning laws that we have in Orangetown that haven't been updated in 60 years and also failed leadership. Along the same lines, my opponent and I disagree on the development of RPC. He's a proponent of selling off sections of RPC piece by piece, and I believe that that is a mistake. If we sell off the desirable pieces that don't require the remediation of the asbestos-laden buildings that we own, the taxpayers will be left footing the bill. We need to come up with a general plan outlining what we want to see in RPC and bring in developers that will look at the property and give us their proposals of how best to meet the community wants and needs. Mr. Stewart has failed to further any progress in this area in 4 years, yet he asks us to give him 2 more. I say why? We all know the controversy surrounding Anelitech, and let me be very clear, I am opposed to Anelitech. I live in Pearl River, and I'm raising my family there. I do not want any company coming in that has the possibility of affecting the lives of my children or any of yours. To that end, I believe that we need stronger laws in place to protect both public health and the environment. Mr. Stewart appears to champion the same position as I do here, but what has he accomplished in this area? Nothing. Also, I will work towards fiscal conservatism to build infrastructure on a more timely basis than waiting to bond everything and kick the can down the road. Mr. Stewart tried this past August to pass $10 million in bonds, which would be a 15% increase in town debt.
Thank you, you're out of time. Okay, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, Art. All right, folks, I'm going to take the high road here, and rather than using my opening statement to attack the other guy, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I think we're doing in this town and what we need to do. First of all, who am I? Most of you gotten to know me. Live in Nyack. I ran Keep Rockin' Beautiful for 10 or 11 years, got to know every scout troop, civic group, church group, volunteer group in Orangetown, and most of the storm drains and streams and parks and so on and so forth. So I come to town government with a history of community service and a belief in community service and in the importance of local involvement in government. So what have we been doing for the last 4 years? We've been doing a lot, to tell you the truth. I think we have a lot to be proud of. Number one, budget management. Sometimes I think you have to be kind of poor or come from a nonprofit to really appreciate the value of a dime. That's what I do. And I appointed a finance director from kind of a combination history, a Republican from Wall Street and also from West Point. I have a deputy supervisor with a longstanding chairmanship of the Republican committee. I'm nonpartisan, and I believe in good government for everyone, not just for a few people. When it comes to the budget, we look to find every stone to turn over, to find waste wherever we can find it, and we've turned in budget after budget under the New York State tax cap, and I think people will really appreciate that. And we could talk more about the savings opportunities that I'm working on and have worked on as we go along, but that's super important to me. Number two, the golf deficit. Again, talking about real things. It is a deficit. It's run up about, Blue Hill's run up about $3.5 million in debt to the general fund. Our auditors flag it as the single most important financial issue for the town. It is long overdue that we take a hard look at it, act with compassion, act with intelligence, and be able to stand up and tell the taxpayers that we haven't been throwing away their money anymore. On grants, I look to bring in revenues. That's one of the most creative aspects of this job. You have to bring together department heads. You have to envision how we can match up the community needs with the funding sources that exist. We got $1.9 million for sidewalks along Middletown Road, right by ShopRite, where that poor gentleman got run over by a bus. Okay, that's the kind of work that I want to do that keeps us safe, that brings in money from the state, and brings a little bit of relief to Orangetown taxpayers. Economic development, super important. I don't know what he's talking about as far as piecemeal. I think we all agree Rockland Psych is an enormously important project. We only got one shot at it. We don't want to be in a rush. And there's certain things we want and certain things we don't want. We want tax ratables. We don't want non-tax paying facilities there. We want a waterfront park. And we want good things for our community and not bad things. Thank you for the red card. I'll just wrap up by saying that as a big believer in open government, the fact that we're on TV tonight is partially my work using grants, and I look forward to continuing this conversation. Art?
Thank you very much. Okay, we allowed Michael Maroney to make the opening statement, so the first question is going to go to Andy Stewart. What is your position on outsourcing Blue Hill golf maintenance?
That's a great question, and you've already heard the town council talk about it a bit, so I'll cut to the chase. There's two basic criteria for success at Blue Hill. One is we have to keep the golfers happy. They're our local customers, and they enjoy certain privileges as town residents, and we want to keep that going and make that golf experience even better. Number two, it has to be publicly owned. We use contracts throughout town to manage facilities and to do sewer relining and a whole host of other things. We use contracts at Blue Hill right now for the restaurant and the pro shop, and I'm in favor of looking at the savings we can obtain from using a contract for golf course maintenance. It's clearly a dilemma that the town needs to address, and frankly, the fact that the 8 employees who work at the golf course are entitled to other town jobs is something that I wholeheartedly believe in. I got support from unions too, although not from all of them, and I think I know why. But the main thing I think we need to say is that we have a duty as town officials, and that is two things. One is to protect our employees and to run a great government internally, and the other is to make sure our taxpayers are satisfied. And when you have the capacity to potentially save $1 million by changing the way you manage something, you have to look into it, and that's what we've done. Broadacres has already been turned around through better management. Revenues are up 5% per year the last 2 years. Costs are down. And with the proper management of Blue Hill, nobody will notice the difference, and we'll be saving a lot of money that we can use for other things.
That same question to Michael Maroney, your position on outsourcing maintenance at Blue Hill.
Well, as I listened to the earlier debate of the town councilman, this is an area where I, too, have not seen the numbers. I kind of found it odd that the RFPs that were received in the middle of July weren't shared with the other town board members until a couple of weeks ago. But I know that the board now is reviewing the numbers. I haven't seen them, so it would be very difficult for me to sit here and say A or B if the numbers were that catastrophically slanted to one side. I will say that I am very suspicious regarding those numbers because I did my own analysis of the Broadacres privatization, and according to my calculations, we have not saved one dime. Not one. When you take the $200,000 bond that they pulled away from the Broad Acres Golf Course and included in the losses every year and moved that aside and brought in applied golf, and you add that back in on the revenue and deficit side of the sheet today, we're actually losing about $10,000 more this year at Broad Acres than we did before we privatized it. So I think we need to open the books and tell everybody what's going on.
Okay, we're going to, Andy Stewart got the question first last time, and this time we're going to Michael Maroney. Every candidate tonight has stated over and over again that they want to improve Orangetown. What have you done prior to becoming a candidate that proves your commitment?
Okay, I served in the Orangetown Police Department for 20 years. But some might say that that was a job and that you wouldn't count that. But in addition to that, I have been a coach in this town in the Pearl River Little League. I have been a coach in Babe Ruth, youth soccer, the Gaelic Football Association. I was on the board of directors for the Piermont PAL for 10 years. I took their basketball program when I started from 30 kids to over 305 locations. I also started their youth golf program down there, which I'm very proud of. I am a member of the AOH, I'm a member of the GAA, I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus, I'm a member of the Elks. I've been actively involved in every aspect of this community since I was born here 48 years ago.
Okay, same question, Andy Stewart.
It's an easy question to answer, so I'll start with a follow-up to the last one. Mr. Maroney says he hasn't seen the numbers. I don't think he's really looked at numbers, frankly. He's accused me over and over of doing draconian tax hikes when the newspapers are publishing headlines about how I've cut taxes and met the New York State tax cap every year. So I honestly don't know what numbers he's looking at. If he wants to see the town's independent financial audit, which talks about the losses of the golf course, it's an open book, as is our entire work here. So I encourage you to do that. On the question of community service is very, very important to me. I spoke about Keep Rockin' Beautiful earlier and how long and hard I worked with so many of our local organizations to recruit volunteers. People who are in here tonight, I met at first by organizing cleanups along the Spark Hill Creek, along the Pascack Brook as it goes through Pearl River, the Norrishawn Brook as it comes down from Route 59 into Orangetown. You know, these are areas where community volunteer effort can make a huge difference in beautifying the town. The Adopt a Road program, Adopt a Highway, and so on and so forth. And then I went on to serve on the Orangetown Planning Board, which was a very, very important work, and I want to talk more about the land use boards as we go on tonight. The importance of having good appointments to the land use boards, especially when it comes to questions like Anelotech. So those are the kinds of things that I go back to. My reasons for involvement are essentially those of community service. Sometimes people wonder, why does he keep on doing this? It doesn't look like that much fun. I actually think it's an amazing, amazing thing to have the privilege to do, which is to serve the public in town government. Thank you.
Okay. This question is directed specifically at Andy Stewart, but of course, Michael Maroney will get a chance to respond to it. You have questioned Mr. Maroney's record during his tenure as an Orangetown police officer. Why should this be an important issue in this campaign?
In short, integrity matters. And there's nothing more important in this town than that we honor the badge. This town has lost police officers to horrific terroristic events, both on duty and off duty. When we look at voting someone into government, you want to know everything about their background. I think it's incumbent upon Mr. Maroney to disclose his disciplinary history in the town of Orangetown. We know that there have been some newspaper articles published, and a lot more has come out lately, specifically detailing numerous disciplinary incidents which really have undermined questions about his credibility as a candidate. These are things which voters shouldn't have to go to the polls and vote for a candidate who essentially has a secret history. I think it's so important that we preserve and protect and enhance the integrity of the police department, that we celebrate the leadership of our police like we just did recently in Town Hall, coming out of the Courtwood fire, and the amazing heroics, busting through doors, pulling old folks out before they were killed by the fire. This is really, really important to me, along with the fact that every year we memorialize the loss of Officers Kennedy and Reedy through a drunk driving accident on Route 303 that took their lives back in 1973, about the same time you started your newspaper. These are incidents which I feel like mean that in the town of Orangetown, we have an incredibly high standard. And I think we should have a high standard, and we deserve a high standard. And I think Mr. Maroney should come clean and actually disclose his disciplinary records so that people can see what it's all about. Thank you.
Okay, your turn to respond.
Thank you very much. First of all, in terms of the whole, lately it's come out, if anyone believes that when I undertook this venture to run for this position, that I thought that this was not going to be raised, they don't know me. I knew this issue was coming out, and I knew that it was going to come out because Mr. Stewart wanted to bring it out. But I find it very disingenuous for him to sit here and to state to the public that Mike Maroney should release his records. Let me explain something very slowly and very carefully to Mr. Stewart and to his supporters. Michael Maroney does not have any records. These records are owned and property of the town of Orangetown. So, when somebody came in and foiled my personnel records, I did not deny them. The town of Orangetown did. And it's very disingenuous and slanderous for Mr. Stewart to sit there and claim that I'm covering something up. And I'll just say, for the record, there's a number of people in this audience that know who Mike Maroney is. And I would just ask you, by a round of applause, to say who would vouch for Mike Maroney's character.
Okay. Now Mr. Maroney gets a chance to answer a question initially. What is your stance on the banning of BTX manufacturing in our community? And how will you defend our local right to enforce our zoning laws against state pressure?
I am 100% against the manufacture, the production of BTX, xylene, and benzene. However, I do think that the proposed law, while it's good for this particular instance, I believe it does not go far enough. 5 years ago, nobody proposed this law because nobody knew about the threat of these three items. And also, I've been working with an environmental attorney in relation to the Inelitech issue that basically says that there are 7 other byproducts in this production process that have not been released to the town. I would favor a more comprehensive approach to protect the air, environment, and the health of the residents. I think we should enact legislation that anything that comes before the planning board would have to get prior approval from a team of experts appointed by the town with specialties in the field to be able to determine is what is proposed safe for our town and for our environment. I would also encourage the county government to put back in the environmental engineer that used to be in place that would oversee these proposals throughout the county. If that party was still back in position, he would have had the authority to step in and overrule the granting of any permits to a questionable project like Inelitech. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Stewart, same question, BTX in our community.
As many people are aware, I've spoken out loudly, consistently, and urgently about the need to oppose the Inelitech facility and to pass a prohibition against the manufacturing of benzene, toluene, and xylene in the town of Orangetown. The Republican town board has not stood with me on that. They've vacillated and they've delayed, and we still don't have that prohibition in the law against the manufacturing of benzene, toluene, and xylene. This record is of my work on this issue is long. There's a page on my website that describes it. Apparently, Mr. Maroney never looked at it because he's actually made the spurious accusation that I at one time supported an Elotech. Another one of these made-up, quote-unquote, facts that we're seeing more and more. Back to the last question, just for a minute, don't go to Mr. Maroney for legal advice. If he read the Freedom of Information law that relates to his disciplinary records, he'd know that he himself is the only person besides the town who can disclose any personnel documents. I ask you once more, yes or no, Mr. Maroney, are you willing to tell the voters what your disciplinary history is? Are you willing to disclose those documents, or do you want to keep them secret?
I'm sorry, did the format of this change? Is this now a question and answer?
I gave my answer, and I'm asking you a question.
I wasn't aware that the format changed.
Yeah, that's not an answer to the question you were asked, Mr. Stewart.
I did answer the question about BTX.
Yes, I mentioned
I respect
BT.
your
Yes.
desire to get to answer that question, and I always answer the
Yes,
questions.
Okay. The question was BTX, was not about personnel records. Okay. Doesn't mean we can't get to it. It just means that that question was about BTX. Okay, but there is a question for you. Mr. Stewart, in the 2011 Patch article, you slammed Paul Whalen for taking campaign donations from town vendors. How do you justify the vendor donations that you have, this questioner implies that you have taken since you've been in office?
I believe it makes two implications. One is about a Patch article that I certainly have no memory of, and the other is that I might have taken money from vendors, but without any actual information about it. So it sounds like kind of like the push poll that the Maroney campaign did earlier, where they basically tried to plant negative ideas without providing any substantive documents or proof or caring to provide evidence. So, what can you say about hearsay other than that it's nice when people actually pony up real information, look at facts, and disclose documents that can help us understand reality. So, what can I say about that? Did the article exist? Did someone just make that up? Is there a particular vendor we're concerned about? I guess there's not a whole lot you can do with made-up stuff.
Mr. Maroney, did you want to comment on campaign donations?
Mr. Stewart, if you'd like to refresh your memory, I can hand you a copy of the article.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. All righty.
In fact, the article states that you chastised Paul Whalen for taking political contributions from vendors doing business with the town. And my simple math has shown that your campaign has taken almost $40,000 from vendors doing business with the town in the last 4 months.
Okay. Is that your response?
That's my response.
Okay. Let's move to another topic. And this would start with Mr. Maroney. Would you support downzoning to attract new ratables?
Downzoning in what context?
Well, by downzoning, I would mean specifically, I would assume that the person who wrote the question specifically means changing zoning for the specific purpose of attracting new ratables.
I'm going to go, I don't know who asked that question, and if anybody wants to clarify, they can raise their hand. I'm going to assume that they're referring to downzoning to allow more high-density housing, or, I'm not sure where you're going with that. I do think in terms of the RPC development, everybody has said in the earlier debates they oppose high-density housing, and I think that they're all referencing, up in Ramapo, I think it was specifically addressed. I do think that this town does have a need, though, that has not been met. We've talked about senior housing, making an area where it's more affordable for people that have raised their families and don't need these large houses anymore. But there's also another need for the young people that have been raised in this town, that have gone through the tremendous schools. They all get into fantastic colleges, but there's nothing back here for them to come to. I don't think that it's a poor idea to look at a section of RPC and have it developed to an area that might be conducive to attracting our young people to stay here, get settled in this town, put down their own roots, and keep the tradition going.
Okay, Andy Stewart. Down zoning, and again, that's not defined, down zoning to attract new ratables.
What downzoning is changing zoning law to increase the amount of density permitted, or taking residential and making it commercial, or taking light industrial and making it industrial. That's downzoning. I'm opposed to downzoning. One of the great things about Orangetown is that it has a very conservative zoning practice. It was set up by intelligent people, and we have a wonderful diversity of land uses in the town of Orangetown. We have a corporate park. We have light industrial areas. We obviously have a Pfizer campus, which is overdue for redevelopment as light industrial. We also have wonderful residential neighborhoods and historic downtowns. This tapestry of zoning is important to preserve. I'm opposed to downzoning. A specific example of that might be when there was a proposal by a sheet metal company to take a piece of land on Route 303 that was partially commercial and partially residential and just switch it all to commercial. I oppose that. And guess what? You know, we preserved that piece of land and the residential quality of life, and they ended up buying a piece of land a building down in the corporate park. You know, the Olympus building finally has a new owner, and that's a wonderful thing. This town can attract good economic development. It's a great place to do business, and we need to maintain our zoning the way it is, and we don't need to go for high-density housing, and we certainly don't need to convert residential zoning into commercial zoning. Thank you.
Okay, I started with Mr. Maroney on the last question, so I'll start with you on this one. What plans or specific vision do you have for the RPC property, either in the way it would be developed or in what are you going to do with it as it sits now?
Thanks for asking that question. You know, it's not an Andy plan. The town actually has a draft development plan for Rockland Site for anybody who wants to download it from the website. Through the work that I did and with others in my office in town, we've actually revised that. It is really a wonderful plan that sets the parameters for economic development there. The waterfront park that Councilman Valentine mentioned earlier is a key piece. The redevelopment of the core area with those 50 or 60 big dead buildings with tax-paying ratables that don't produce too many trucks, noise, dust, or anything else that is bad, and that directs traffic towards Veterans Highway and not towards Convent Road, which is a narrow country lane. Those are certain principles that are in that development plan that I think this town has long stood for. I am very, very excited about the redevelopment potential of the site, and I think that we're going to move forward with that, but we certainly only have one chance to do it right, and we don't want to be in a rush. And the Office of Mental Health and the New York State are not easy folks to deal with. And now, in difference from when the town first bought the land, there are 3 important pieces of state land which are currently vacant, and we need to be able to control those. We don't want the state to sell them to the wrong people. I'm talking about the former Children's Hospital, where they're filming Orange is the New Black, the power plant complex, and Staff Court, which is over by Veterans or Orangeburg Road. In particular, with the Lionsgate operation, I think it's really exciting to consider trying to get them to actually buy that piece of land and that building and continue to film there and pay taxes for a long time. Working with Reason and the other neighborhoods around there, I can see that people support the continuation of filming there. And I'm excited. I've been pushing forward with that and trying to get the Empire State Development and the Office of Mental Health to really take Lionsgate seriously in their interest in buying that. So I think we have good ideas and good opportunities, but it's a beast of a redevelopment process, and we need to recognize that we only get to do it once, and we got to do it right, and so we don't want to rush it. Thank you.
Mr. Maloney, your take on RPC.
Many of the points that Mr. Stewart made, I wouldn't disagree with. If you're going to put commercial ratables in there, we don't want the trucks going onto Convent Road. I mean, I think that a lot of it doesn't even need to be repeated. What I would like to see is a little bit more, plans and substance. What specific industries are we looking at? And to get a little more specific, there's 42 town-owned buildings that need asbestos remediation, excuse me. I've met with a group of very successful businessmen that work in construction trades with some of the biggest developers in Manhattan. They're also involved in the coordination and design systems of some high-tech industries. And one of the things they said to me that they could not understand was that they see massive data centers and high-tech industry going to places like Parsippany, New Jersey, and Teaneck. Why aren't they going into RPC? I've gotten these gentlemen to agree that after I'm elected, that they're going to actually act as a panel to help me further this agenda, and let's get this town moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, I started, the last question was initially directed to Andy Stewart, so I'm going to give this next question to you, Mr. Maroney. What changes, if any, to the Land Use Board appointment process would you make?
I think it's important to remember that the people that serve on all of these boards in the town, they do so on a volunteer basis. I mean, let's not lose sight of that. When they do get paid, they're not doing it for the salary. It's not like somebody's going to buy a vacation home on what they're making from participating in this. It's part of I think it's a way of giving back to the community. I think that we just need to probably examine, as I said earlier, I would like to see anything that involves the public health or environmental issues have another step where we would have highly skilled people that would be able to determine whether or not this process should go further or not. I think that the process now is not flawed. I think that the board, can make those selections, but I think it should be based on a person's qualifications. Thank you.
Okay, Andy Stewart, same question.
Right now, the town board appoints members to the land use boards for tenures of from 3 to 7 years, depending on the board and the position being filled. I guess the thing that I think is most important to stress right now is, number one, we need members and we need leadership on the land use boards that really does listen to the community. And listen not just with their ears or with a show, but with their feet. And what I mean by that is go visit the sites. Don't be on the planning board and just look at the maps and drawings that the developers bring in, but go talk to the neighbors and go look at the sites. I think that should be a requirement for participation on the planning board. Secondly, we need more training. I mean, the fact of the matter is we're getting very complex applications, and the Inelitech one was a great example of that. Industrial facilities. We do have experts. We have fire inspectors, building inspectors, highway. They all review applications through the project review committee, and the boards have the authority to go out and obtain expert services. But we need them to actually use those services. And in the case of the Inelitech project, there was a big gap there. And that's why I spoke against it at the planning board and I spoke against it at the zoning board, because I didn't think the review process was good enough. And I think that we need to do better for the town with large and complex applications. And we don't want to be caught flat-footed. And for that reason, I would increase the training requirement, require site visits, and make darn sure that our appointments to land use boards are not political favors, but they're going to people who really, really listen to the community. Thank you.
Okay, we started, last question, Mr. Maroney, so we're going to start with Mr. Stewart now. How would you resolve the ongoing conflict over use of the Mighty Midget soccer fields?
I've actually made a very specific proposal that I'm on the record for, and anybody's welcome to look at it. To me, the two criteria for success with soccer are, number one, let's recognize that our sports groups are the heart of the community. whether it's Orangetown Mighty Midgets, Rockland FC, TZ, lacrosse. These people are working with families, and in some cases, the groups, because of the way the sports market is evolving, can't meet the 85% residency requirement. But number one, let's just recognize that they are the heart of our community. Number two, let's recognize that there are real fairness issues at stake here. When taxpayers build a facility, they want it to be primarily for town residents and not for people who come from outside of town. And we recognize that. So what can we do? It's complex. The Youth Rec Committee has been working on it, but hasn't come forward with anything, and neither has the town board. So a few months ago, I made two simple proposals. One was that we retain the 85% residency requirement for sports groups who have priority access for free to town fields. But number two, we recognize that some of them can't meet it, but we want them to try. So let's have a fee for non-resident participants. But don't go under 65%, because then you really have to wonder whether the town resources are being dedicated to town folks or people from outside of town. So maintain the 85%, but provide an incentive to get there, and don't put anybody out of business. These groups are so important. I myself coached for Orangetown Mighty Midgets for a bit, love soccer. There's just no doubt about it. You don't want to upset the apple cart when it comes to the sports leagues. So that was one proposal. The other proposal is there's a lot of back and forth around access to the soccer complex. And it's a little difficult, and it's a really busy schedule. And I think that the Parks Department should have a number of field time hours, daytime, under the lights and so on, per week, where they can just easily slot in whoever they think needs that time that week or over a series of weeks. Right now, that doesn't exist. It's a give and take, it's a negotiation, and a lot of times people are kind of left out in the cold. I don't think that's good for OMM, and I don't think that's good for the other groups.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Maroney, same question. How would you resolve the soccer field issue?
I think it's very important to remember at the beginning that whether you're talking about South Orangetown Little League or the OMM complex, that neither one of those facilities would be there without those two organizations. This town did not put the money up to create those fields. They own the property, but those organizations came in and they put the funding behind it. They created the fields. And I mean, a lot of hard work and volunteers went into that. Anything that we go forward from that, I think that has to weigh into consideration. And that being said, clearly, I don't think that anybody is going to argue against the fact that all town kids should have the opportunity to play on town fields. But my understanding is that ORAC, the organization, the committee that was put together to assist the Parks Department in coming up with a resolution, came up with a resolution. And I don't know why Mr. Stewart chose not to support that resolution, but have one of his own instead.
Your understanding is incorrect.
Okay, this next question is directed specifically at Mr. Maroney, and of course, Mr. Stewart will get a chance to respond to that. And the question is this: how are you going to negotiate with the police contracts, and do you see any possible conflict in the fact that you may be a beneficiary of these contracts, that as the town supervisor and a member of the police commission, you would have to act on?
All right, let me clarify something for the get-go. I am retired from the Orangetown Police Department. Nothing that happens with their contract going forward affects me one iota. So, I mean, in other words, to suggest that if I gave them an increased pension benefit or something, it's going to come back and benefit me is 100% false. When I retired and walked out with the retirement that I got, my retirement stays the same regardless of what happens to them going forward. Now, throughout my career, I rose first to sergeant and then to lieutenant. The nature of my positions in the police department quite often at odds put me at odds with some of my employees. The men and women of the Orangetown Police Department, I have earned their respect over the 20 years that I put in there and since I left. They know me as a man of integrity, a man of intelligence, but also as a man of fairness. I can sit down across the table with these people, and they know that I have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers in the new role that I will be undertaking. So I do not see any conflict whatsoever. Thank you.
Andrew Stewart.
Is there another question?
Yeah, yes.
Or did I get to respond to that one, or?
The question was reference to the police contract. Do you see any possible conflict that Mr. Maroney might have in negotiating police contracts? Because obviously, you wouldn't have the conflict, so.
I frankly think the conflict is catastrophic, to be entirely honest with you. The fact of the matter is that, number one, you know, in terms of looking at the contract, I mean, the number of times we get the numbers wrong here is amazing. We don't have 42 buildings, we have 50 or 60. I didn't take $40,000 from town vendors. I don't think I even know that many of them. There haven't been tax hikes, there have been tax cuts. So let's talk a little bit about integrity when it comes to looking at the police. The bottom line is that this gentleman here refuses to disclose why he resigned from the police department. And you can yell all you want in the back row there, but we're faced with tough choices sometimes, and I think people deserve to have the information. Now, I know why Mr. Maroney resigned. Every single person on the town board does. I think
Mr. Stewart, you're out of order. You're out of order, sir. The question
I know why.
Specifically relates to the contract.
And most people standing in this room probably know why. If you don't think that presents a conflict of interest in negotiating police union contracts, then you don't understand what a conflict of interest is. And that's the sad truth about it.
You're out of time anyway. Okay. Okay, on that positive note, let us move to the closing statements. We started with Mr. Maroney with the opening statements, so we're going to start with Mr. Stewart, and you'll have 2-minute closing statement.
Marcus said go. All right, as far as a closing statement goes, look, we've had to raise some awkward issues here that we would prefer not to have to talk about. Issues of integrity, issues of conflict of interest, issues having to do with what happens to town employees when maintenance of the golf course is done through a contract instead of doing with town employees in order to save money. These things are real, and I think it's really important that this room is full right now to overflowing, because clearly in the town of Orangetown, people really do care, and we're all invested in having a responsive town government that can balance the needs of the people in the different parts of our community and the needs of taxpayers overall. And that's what I stand for. I've been here for 4 years running the town. We've been under the tax cap every single year, and my budget proposals have been under the tax cap the last 3 budgets. I'm proud of that record. I'm proud of my efforts in defense of the community when it comes to public health and toxic industries. I'd like to spend my whole time talking about that. Unfortunately, my opponent began his opening statement and will probably finish by attacking me rather than talking about who he is and what he really stands for. And that presents all of us with an awkward situation. And I'm sorry about that. But the fact of the matter is, these things really do matter. It really does matter who becomes town supervisor, especially in this election. And I would say to you that I have a record that is worth the respect of the voters. And I encourage you to look at the person and not the party, and to say what is in the best interest of Orangetown. Who's going to listen? Who's going to work hard? Who understands the issues? And I think I've done a good job by you, and if you want me to continue, I will serve another 2 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Your turn. Well, there certainly is no shortage of enthusiasm on each side here tonight, let me say. Okay, Mr. Maroney, your time to make your closing statement.
Okay, thank you very much. I did find it interesting that Mr. Stewart said that he felt like I attacked him. I think a lot of people in the room would say it went the other way, but whatever. He talks about my misguided numbers. I'll give you a few numbers. Andy, your first proposed budget called for a 9.2% tax hike that ballooned up to 14% when state cuts that you didn't calculate in were added in. And I have the article for that here as well. Your second year, you proposed a 7% tax hike, and you voted publicly to break the New York State tax cap.
Not true.
Your third year, you took $3.5 million from the reserve fund, which $1 million of which was restored by your Republican board members. And this year, you proposed another 2.5% drain. You stood up here the night of the budget presentation saying that our budget funds are growing. But in fact, that is not the case, because from the beginning of 2014 to the end of this year, we went from 20,416,000 down to 16,586,000. So who's got the fuzzy math now? In terms of your personal slanderous attacks against me, I will say this. I've lived in this town for 48 years, and I am truly embarrassed by your behavior. I have never seen from a Republican or a Democrat prior to you more slanderous, scandalous, vile attacks. And this is not Ramapo, Mr. Stewart. We are not going to tolerate this at all, and you're going to find that out 2 weeks from tomorrow. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much for participating, Andy Stewart, Michael Maroney. Thank you for turning out tonight. You can watch this in reruns on Channel 78 Cable or Channel 30 Verizon. Thank you very much.
The answer is no. He's not going to disclose.